Courtroom number 7 fell silent so suddenly that you could hear the sparrows chirping outside the window. Judge Valentina, a woman in her 60s with a tired but attentive gaze, looked up from her papers and fixed her eyes on the 7-year-old girl in a pink dress with unicorns, standing beside my lawyer and holding my old smartphone in her small hands. "What recording is that, sweetheart?" I felt Matthew tense up beside me, every muscle in his body tightening. His mother, Patricia, sitting in the first row behind us, turned as pale as a sheet, and her perfectly styled hair suddenly looked pitiful against the fear on her face. "It's Dad and Grandma Patricia talking in the kitchen at night 3 days ago," my Madison said clearly. "They thought I was asleep, but I woke up to get some water and recorded everything on Mom's phone, just like she taught me for important talks." Matthew shot up from his chair so abruptly that it crashed to the floor. "This is illegal. You can't use secret recordings. It's a violation of privacy." His lawyer, a young, overconfident guy in an expensive suit, also stood up. "Objection, Your Honor. This recording was made without the participants' consent." But Judge Valentina only shook her head. "Gentlemen, first of all, the child was in her own home and had every right to record what was happening. Second, if the conversation concerns the welfare of a minor and the division of marital property, the court is obligated to review all evidence. Young lady, please come here." Maddie walked up to the judge with that rare kind of childlike confidence you only see in kids who know they're doing something truly important and right. I looked at my daughter and could barely hold back tears. When did she become so grown up? It felt like just yesterday I was teaching her to tie her shoes, and now she was saving our lives from the man I once loved more than life itself. "Go ahead, sweetheart," the judge said gently, and Maddie pressed play. From the phone speaker came Patricia's voice, cold and precise as always. "Matt, I told you from the start, everything should have been under my name. Now it's going to take some work to make sure that Iris doesn't get a single penny." Matthew's voice sounded tired. "Mom, stop it. The condo was bought during the marriage. Legally, half of it is hers." "Legally," his mother mocked. "Did you forget that I paid the down payment? $300,000, by the way. And now your little housemaid gets half of a $2 million property?" "She's not a housemaid, Mom. She's a pediatric nurse." "What's the difference? The point is, she didn't have a dime when you married her. Remember how she sat there in that cheap dress when we first met her?" I said right away, "Gold digger." I clenched my fists so hard that my nails dug into my palms. Yes, I had worn a simple dress from a budget store, the only nice one I owned. I'd just graduated from nursing school and was working for next to nothing. But I loved Matthew so sincerely, so purely, I would have lived with him in a tiny apartment on the outskirts of town. And he swore money didn't matter, that love was all that did. The recording went on. "Mom, enough. What's done is done. We'll figure something out." "What's there to figure out? You'll tell the court she's a bad mother, that she neglects the kid, that she drinks." "Mom, Iris doesn't drink." "And who's gonna check that? I've got a friend, head of a department at her hospital. She'll say your precious wife often shows up to work drunk, for a small thank you, of course." "Mom, that's falsification. That's protecting my granddaughter. You think I'll let Maddie live with that pauper in some rented dump on the edge of town? No way. The child stays with us where it's safe, and the housemaid can crawl back to Ohio to her alcoholic mother." "My grandma's not an alcoholic," Maddie suddenly shouted, and the judge gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "Easy, sweetheart. Let's listen to the rest." The recording continued, and with every passing second Matthew's face grew paler. His mother's face wasn't white anymore, it was greenish, like she might throw up right there in court. "So, here's the plan, son," Patricia's voice went on. "We'll prove the condo was bought with my money. I kept every document. Your business is under my name anyway, so she won't get a dime there. The car, we'll say you sold it to your friend Kevin a month ago, he'll confirm, and we'll backdate the paperwork. As for the bank accounts, we'll move the money offshore, I've got a guy. And most importantly, we'll take the kid. Without the kid she'll break down and sign anything, just to see her daughter. We'll let her visit once a month under supervision, no more. And no child support, let her figure out life on her own." "Mom, that's cruel," Matthew's recorded voice said weakly. "Cruel? And what she did to you wasn't cruel. A decent man from a good family marrying a nurse, please. She bewitched you somehow, trapped you, and now she wants your money. But I won't allow it. Tomorrow you'll go to the notary and sign the condo over to me. Then you'll change your mind, but the document will remain, and we'll use it in court. Oh, and we need witnesses that she's been cheating. We'll pay a couple of neighbors to say they saw her with men." There was a sound on the recording, probably Maddie shifting in her chair, and Patricia's voice grew alert. What was that? Probably the cat, Matthew said. Speaking of the cat, Maddie loves him. So we'll keep the cat here too. Another leverage point. If she wants to see the kid, she'll behave and sign away her claim. I couldn't hold back a sob. They were planning to use our orange tabby, Marley, as a weapon. They wanted to turn my daughter, my little girl, into a bargaining chip in their dirty game. Matthew's lawyer jumped up. I demand that this recording be stopped. This is a private conversation taken out of context. But the judge just waved him off. Sit down. The context is perfectly clear. The playback continued for another 5 minutes, and every sentence was like a nail in the coffin of our marriage. Patricia detailed how they tricked the court, falsified documents, bribed witnesses. Matthew tried to object now and then, but his voice grew weaker each time until he finally agreed. Fine, Mom, whatever you say. Just let's not go too far, okay? Sweetheart, in war, all's fair. And this is a war for your future, and my granddaughters. That outsider thinks she can grab a piece of what's yours? Not a chance. She'll leave this place penniless, just like she came. When the recording ended, the silence in the courtroom was so deep you could hear a faucet dripping somewhere in the hallway. Judge Valentina took off her glasses, wiped them, and put them back on, buying herself a moment to gather her thoughts. Patricia sat motionless, like a marble statue, except for the twitch in her eye. Matthew stared at the floor, as if searching for a hole to disappear into. Well, the judge finally said, thank you, young lady, for this recording. You're very brave and very smart. You may sit with your mother. Maddie proudly walked across the courtroom and sat beside me, slipping her small warm hand into mine. Mr. Perry, the judge turned to Matthew, do you have anything to say about what we just heard? Matthew lifted his head, and for a moment I thought I saw shame in his eyes. But then his mother sprang up. This is a setup. It's been edited. My son's being framed. I demand an expert analysis of that recording. The judge shot her a cold look. Mrs. Perry, sit down. You are not a party in this case. One more outburst and I'll have you removed. How dare you? I'm his mother. I have every right to defend my son. Your son is 35 years old. He's perfectly capable of defending himself. Counselor, please control your client, or I'll take action. The lawyer whispered something to Patricia, and she sat down, though her glare could have burned through steel. Maddie squeezed my hand tighter, and I wrapped my arm around her, pulling her close. Don't be scared, sweetheart, I whispered. Everything's going to be okay. So, Mr. Perry, the judge said, turning back to Matthew, I'm waiting for your explanation. He stood, straightened his shoulders, and burst into tears. Yes, my once proud, self-assured husband, the owner of a construction company, a Columbia graduate, the adored son of his domineering mother, stood in the middle of the courtroom and cried like a boy. I'm sorry, he choked out through his sobs. I'm so sorry. Iris, forgive me. I didn't mean for this to happen. It was Mom. No, that's a lie. I'm guilty too. I've been a coward all my life. Mom always made the decisions, and me? I just went along with the flow. Matthew, Patricia shrieked. Stop this ridiculous act right now. But he just waved her off. Enough, Mom. Enough. My whole life you told me I was special, that I deserved only the best, that everyone else was trying to use me. But you know what? The only person who ever loved me for who I really am was Iris. She loved me when my business was failing, when I was drinking for months, when I was nothing. And I betrayed her for your money and your approval, Mom. He turned to me, and there was such pain in his eyes that for a moment I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Iris, I'm giving up all claims. The condo is entirely yours. I'll pay the maximum child support. You can keep the car too. And if you'll allow it, I'd like to see Maddie, only if you agree, and only under your terms. The courtroom buzzed. Patricia jumped up and rushed to her son. What are you saying? Have you lost your mind? She played you for a fool. You're giving her everything. But the judge intervened. Bailiff, remove Mrs. Perry from the courtroom. 2 court officers took Patricia by the arms and led her out as she shouted, Matthew, son, don't you dare. I'll cut you out of my will. You're no son of mine, you hear? No son of mine. When the door closed behind her, silence fell again. The judge nodded. Well then, if both parties have reached an amicable settlement, the court will gladly approve it. Mr. Perry, do you confirm your statement? Yes, Your Honor. Mrs. Perry, do you agree to the defendant's offer? I stood up, looked at Maddie, her huge brown eyes, just like her father's, and said, I agree. On one condition, all property issues are to be settled today, officially and notarized. And one more thing, Matthew must complete a course of psychotherapy before he can start regular visits with his daughter. I'll need written proof from a therapist. Agreed, Matthew said quietly. The judge smiled for the first time that day. Well, I'm glad you managed to come to terms, especially for the child's sake. Young lady, you did wonderfully. Your mother should be very proud of you. Maddie beamed and hugged me tightly. We left the courtroom together, Maddie, my lawyer Elena, and I. Elena was a young woman around 30 who had taken my case almost for free after hearing my story. Outside, the bright April sun was shining, and for the first time in 6 months, I felt like I could finally breathe again. Mommy, did I do the right thing? Maddie asked. I lifted her into my arms and spun her around, just like I used to when she was little. You did everything right, sweetheart. My brave, clever girl. Iris, Matthew called after us. He was standing by the courthouse steps, hunched over, looking lost. Can I have a minute? I set Maddie down and walked up to him. What is it? I'm truly sorry. For everything. I did love you, honestly. I'm weak. Mom's always been the strong one, and I got used to obeying. You know what, Matthew? I don't care anymore. You broke my life, tried to take my daughter away, and were ready to lie in court to destroy me. And for what? Money? Your mommy's approval? Go to hell. I turned to leave, but he grabbed my arm. Wait, what about Maddie? She's still my daughter. I pulled my hand free. She was your daughter until you turned her into a bargaining chip. You want the right to call yourself a father again? Earn it. Start with therapy, fix your issues, learn to be your own man, not your mother's little boy. Then we'll see. Maddie, Elena, and I walked to my car, the one Matthew had supposedly sold to his friend. Behind us, I heard Patricia's hysterical screams echoing across the steps. Matthew, what have you done, you idiot? Go back and undo it all. But I didn't turn around. That chapter was over. Or so I thought. The 3 months before the trial had been pure hell. It all started in January, right after the holidays. Matthew came home late one night, drunk and furious. That was strange in itself. He almost never drank, except for an occasional glass during celebrations. Where were you? I asked, meeting him in the hallway. Maddie was waiting for you. She wanted to show you the picture she drew at preschool. Get off my back, he muttered, kicking off his shoes. Enough with your damn drawings. I froze. In 8 years of marriage, Matthew had never spoken to me like that. Sure, we had arguments and hurt feelings, but never cruelty. Matthew, what's wrong? Something at work? He looked up, eyes cloudy with alcohol. Work's fine. It's home that's the problem. A wife who's nothing but a leech, always begging for money. What? What are you talking about? Matthew, you're drunk. Go to bed. But he grabbed my shoulders and shook me. A leech. Mom was right. You're just a gold digger. You married me for the money. I pulled away. Are you insane? When we met, you didn't even have any money. Your company had just started. You were living in a rented apartment. Yeah, but you knew my mom had money. You planned it all. I couldn't take it anymore and slapped him across the face. For the first time in my life, I hit the man I loved. He stepped back, touched his cheek, and smirked bitterly. There it is. The real you. Trash. Then he slammed the bedroom door so hard that our wedding photo fell off the hallway wall. The glass shattered, and I just stood there, staring at the shards glinting in the kitchen light. It felt symbolic, though I had no idea how symbolic it truly was. The next morning, Matthew acted like nothing had happened. He kissed me on the cheek, ruffled Maddie's hair, drank his coffee, and left for work. I told myself it was just drunken nonsense. Maybe he'd fought with a business partner, got drunk, and took it out on me. It happens. But that was just the beginning. A week later, he announced that we were spending too much money. We need to cut back, he said over dinner. Recession, you know. Not many contracts coming in. I frowned. But you said you landed the mall construction deal. They pulled out. Competitors undercut us. I didn't argue, though something felt off. Just 3 days earlier, I'd heard him telling his mother on the phone that the contract was practically theirs. The real nightmare began when Patricia got involved. She started showing up almost every day with one excuse or another, bringing soup, since Iris can't cook properly, offering to help Maddie with her reading. She should already be fluent, not spelling things out, or just checking in on her son. And every single time, she found something to criticize. The way I cleaned, cooked, dressed, raised Maddie, even the way I spoke. Iris, dear, she'd coo in that syrupy voice that made my skin crawl. You're feeding the child pasta again? That's nothing but carbs. When Matthew was her age, I only gave him organic food. I bit my tongue. Patricia, it's whole grain pasta. It's healthy, and Maddie likes it. She likes it. Children like candy too. Should we just feed them that? Or she'd say, Iris, what's with this habit of wearing a robe around the house? A woman should always look her best. I, for instance, am always put together, even at home. I'd glance at her Chanel suit, flawless blowout, and $150 manicure, and wonder, when does she actually live? When is she just a real woman, not a mannequin from a boutique window? Matthew took her side every time. Mom's right, Iris. You've let yourself go. Look at you, jeans and a t-shirt. You're a businessman's wife. Matthew, I just finished a 24-hour hospital shift. You want me in a Dior gown right now? He just grimaced. That's the point. A businessman's wife shouldn't be working as a janitor. I'm not a janitor. I'm a pediatric nurse. What's the difference? The difference was enormous, but I was too tired to explain it anymore. How do you explain to someone who's never seen a child's tears what it means to comfort a scared little patient before a shot? How do you make someone who measures everything in dollars understand that a child's smile is worth more than any paycheck? How do you make a mama's boy grasp that work isn't just a paycheck, it's a calling? And then came the worst part. They started turning Maddie against me. Patricia would buy her expensive toys and say, these are from Grandma because your mommy's too stingy to spend your daddy's money on you. Or she'd say, Maddie, how about I take you to Disneyland? Mommy can't, she's always working, she doesn't have time for you. I tried to talk to Matthew about it, but he brushed me off. Mom just loves her granddaughter. What's wrong with that? What's wrong, I said, is that she's turning her against me. Don't be ridiculous. You're getting paranoid. Paranoid? Maybe. But when your 7-year-old daughter asks, Mom, why don't you love Dad? Grandma said you only married him for money. That's not paranoia. That's war. And I realized I was losing. The final straw came with the country house. Matthew's parents owned a beautiful property in Westchester, 3 floors, a pool, a tennis court. Every weekend we went there as a family. Maddie loved that place. It had her favorite trampoline, a tree house Matthew built for her 5th birthday, and a pond full of koi that she fed with bread. One Friday in February, Matthew said, we're going to the lake house tomorrow without you. Mom says you're no longer welcome there. I froze. What? Why? Because you don't appreciate what you have. Mom thinks, and I agree, that you've become too arrogant. You think being married means you can stop trying. No manicure, no hairstyle, dressed like a slob. Matthew, I have a hospital shift tomorrow. Perfect. Work, since your job's more important than your family. They left the next morning, Matthew, Maddie, and Patricia. My daughter cried, didn't want to go without me, but Grandma promised her a pony ride. The neighbors kept ponies and let kids ride them for a fee. And my sweet girl, who had dreamed about riding a pony for so long, gave in. I stayed alone in that big apartment, sat in the kitchen, poured myself some tea, and suddenly realized it was over. They were pushing me out of the family. Slowly, methodically, like a snake forcing its prey out of a burrow. First they'd ruin my relationship with my husband. Then they'd turn my daughter against me. And finally, they'd say, leave. No one's keeping you here. That's when I decided to fight back. I started recording every conversation, photographing documents, collecting evidence. Matthew thought I was some naive small-town girl who didn't know her rights. Patricia saw me as a weak little lamb who'd endure anything for the sake of her child. They were wrong. I found a good lawyer, Elena. We met by chance at the hospital where I worked. She'd brought her daughter in for a vaccination, and the little girl was crying, terrified of the needle. I spent half an hour calming her down, telling stories, showing her glove puppets. In the end, the girl didn't even flinch. Elena was so grateful she almost cried. You're a miracle worker. We've been to 3 hospitals, and she had a meltdown every time. We got to talking. It turned out Elena was a family law attorney. Family law is tough, she said as we drank coffee in the hospital cafeteria. People think divorce is simple. Just go to court, say we're done, and that's it. But the dramas that unfold there? Shakespeare couldn't top them. I broke down in tears right then, just sat there crying in the cafeteria, while a near stranger held my hand in silence. Then I told her everything. About Matthew, about his mother, about how they were trying to take my daughter away. Bastards, Elena said simply. You know what? I'll take your case. Almost pro bono, you know how state lawyers are paid. But women like your mother-in-law? I can't stand them. I went through something similar when I was young. Only I didn't fight back. I gave up. And I lost everything, my husband, my child. He came around years later, wanted to reconcile, but it was too late. I'd changed, hardened. I saw my son once a month for 5 years, until he grew up and came to find me himself. So let's fight. You don't want to live with the kind of regret I did. And so we prepared for war. Elena explained my rights, what documents to collect, what to record. Document everything, she told me. Every word, every threat. And most importantly, teach your daughter. Kids often overhear things adults say when they think no one's listening. I taught Maddie how to use the recorder on my phone. Told her it was a game, a secret agent mission. If Daddy or Grandma said something important, she should quietly press record. Maddie loved playing spy, so she took the task very seriously. And then, at the beginning of March, Matthew announced, I'm filing for divorce. You're not my wife anymore. Pack your things and leave. Just like that, over dinner, in front of Maddie. My little girl dropped her spoon and started crying. Daddy, please don't. I don't want Mommy to leave. But Matthew said coldly, it's her own fault. She's a bad wife and a bad mother. You'll stay with us, me and Grandma. I'm not going anywhere without my daughter, I said firmly. Matthew smirked. We'll see what the court says. I've got the best lawyers, connections, money. What do you have? A nurse's salary? $2,000 a month? You think you can raise a kid on that? On the child support you'll be paying, I shot back. He laughed. Child support? From what? I'm unemployed. The company's under Mom's name, remember? Officially, I'm broke, so don't expect a dime. But I was ready. Elena had warned me they might try that trick. It's okay, she said. We've got proof of his real income, bank statements, photos of financial records, witness statements. The court isn't stupid. They'll see he's hiding money. Matthew filed for divorce a week later. The petition claimed I was a bad mother, neglectful, an alcoholic, and unfaithful. My hands were shaking as I read it. Unfaithful? Me? In 8 years of marriage, I hadn't so much as looked at another man. Elena calmed me. That's the standard playbook. Don't worry, we'll disprove every word. Do you have a letter of recommendation from your job? I did, and it was glowing. My supervisor, Vera, wrote that I was the best nurse she'd seen in 20 years. That the children adored me, parents thanked me, and colleagues respected me. In 5 years, I'd never once shown up late, hungover, or under the influence. Perfect, Elena said. Now let's plan the counterattack. Do you have proof that your husband is turning the child against you? Then I remembered the recordings. Maddie had recorded about 5 hours of her father's and grandmother's conversations over the past month. I hadn't even listened to them all, I'd been too afraid. Elena and I sat down and played them. With each minute, her face grew darker. My God, she said after one especially vile rant from Patricia calling me a small-town tramp who trapped her son. This is enough for a criminal case, defamation, harassment, threats. I don't want a criminal case, I said quietly. I just want my daughter. Elena nodded. I understand. But these recordings are gold. If we play them right, they'll hand you everything themselves, just to avoid being charged for slander and witness tampering. The hearing was set for April. That month leading up to it was hell. Matthew started daily fights, demanded I move out. Patricia called my mother in Ohio, spreading lies about me. Mom, God rest her soul, just laughed. Let that old witch wag her tongue. I know my daughter. But the worst part was Maddie. They started taking her to a psychologist, one of their paid experts, meant to write that the child should live with her father. Maddie came home from those sessions tear-streaked and silent. What happened, sweetheart? I asked. The lady asked if it's true that you hit me, she whispered. I said no, but she told me, don't be scared, tell the truth, Daddy will protect you. I held my little girl and had to fight the urge to storm into that office and strangle that so-called therapist. Elena advised taking Maddie to an independent specialist. We found a wonderful child psychologist, Anna, who, after 3 sessions, wrote that Maddie was deeply attached to her mother and separation would cause severe emotional trauma. What about the father? Elena asked. Anna sighed. It's complicated. The girl loves her dad but fears her grandmother. Says grandma yells at mom and calls her bad names. And one more thing, she's very mature for her age. She understands what's happening and is trying to protect her mother. That's why she started making those recordings. Smart kid. Very smart. A week before the trial, something happened that I can only call a miracle. Kevin, Matthew's old college friend, called me. Iris, can we meet? I need to talk to you. It's important. We met at a cafe near the hospital where I worked. Kevin looked terrible, thinner, pale, nervous. I can't keep quiet anymore, he began without preamble. Matthew wants me to lie in court. He told me to say I bought his car a month ago. That's not true. And he also asked me to testify that I saw you at a restaurant with another man. That's not true either. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Kevin hesitated. Because I know what kind of person you are. Remember 3 years ago, when my wife Lena had our baby early? Danny was in the ICU. You basically lived in that hospital for 2 weeks, taking care of him, even though you didn't have to. Lena still says you saved our son. And now Matthew wants me to stab you in the back. I can't do it. He pulled a flash drive from his pocket. This is a recording of my conversation with him. I turned on the voice recorder just in case, figured you might try to blame me later. He's out of control these days, completely brainwashed by his mother. I took the flash drive, tears welling in my eyes. Thank you, Kevin. Really, thank you. He waved it off. Forget it. Matt's my friend, but he's wrong. Totally wrong. You're a good woman, Iris. You don't deserve this. And Maddie needs her mother. Every normal kid does. The recording on that flash drive was devastating. Matthew openly offered Kevin $500,000 to give false testimony. Kevin refused, and Matthew kept pushing. Come on, man. It's just a couple of lines in court. You could use the money, you've got a mortgage, a kid. At the end of the recording, Kevin's voice was firm. Matt, I'm not lying under oath. That's final. And Matthew replied. Then screw you. I thought you were my friend. When Elena listened to it, she nearly jumped from her chair. This is witness tampering, a criminal offense. Now we've got them exactly where we want them. Then the day of the trial arrived. I barely slept the night before. Maddie didn't either. She kept climbing into my bed, pressing close. Mommy, what if Daddy takes you away? He won't, sweetheart. We'll stay together, always. I wore my best outfit, the black suit I'd bought for our first wedding anniversary. Simple, elegant, classic. Matthew had once said I looked like a businesswoman in it. Ironic, now I was wearing it to fight for our daughter. The courtroom was small and stuffy. Besides us and the lawyers, Patricia was there, of course, and, unexpectedly, my mom. She had come all the way from Ohio to support me, despite her weak heart. It's fine, Mom said, hugging me before we went in. I can't just sit home while my daughter's in trouble, and I want to see that fancy lady who's been calling me an alcoholic. Judge Valentina turned out to be a sharp, no-nonsense woman who didn't tolerate lies. When Matthew's lawyer began listing accusations against me, she cut him off. Let's take these one by one, with evidence. You claim the defendant abuses alcohol. Proof? The lawyer hesitated. Well, there's a witness. What witness? Our client's neighbor, Rachel, is ready to testify. Where is this neighbor? She couldn't come. She's sick. The judge frowned. So, no witness present. Any written statement? No, but. Next point. And so it went, through every accusation. Infidelity? No proof. Neglect? The child was healthy, clean, and developmentally advanced. Inappropriate behavior? None specified. But when Elena took the floor, she had everything: proof, reports, witnesses. The letter of recommendation from work, check. The independent psychologist's conclusion, check. Income statements for the last 3 years, check. Then Patricia lost control. Why are you listening to her? She's manipulating everyone. Learned how to control people at that hospital, now she's manipulating the court. The judge fixed her with a cold look. Ma'am, who are you? I'm the plaintiff's mother and the child's grandmother. You are not a party to this case. One more interruption and you'll be asked to leave. Patricia sat down, but the fury in her eyes could have burned through walls. Then came Maddie's moment. When she mentioned the recording, I could hardly believe it. Elena and I hadn't listened to all of them. Some Maddie had made just days earlier. That late night one was among them. After that recording was played in court, the outcome was clear. But Matthew did something I never expected. He admitted his guilt. Maybe his conscience finally woke up, or maybe he realized he'd lost everything anyway. Either way, he withdrew all his claims. When we stepped out of the courthouse, Patricia was waiting for us by the doors. You think you've won? She hissed. You haven't won anything. I'll make your life hell. I have money, connections, influence. You'll regret this. My mom, who'd been quiet until then, stepped forward. Listen here, fancy lady, she said evenly. You're not touching my daughter or granddaughter ever again. You do, and I'll cause such a scandal the whole of New York will know what kind of snake you are. I've got your little chats recorded, your lies, your bribery plans. I'll post them online and let the world see who you really are. Patricia stumbled back. You wouldn't dare. Oh, I would. I'm just a simple countrywoman, I've got nothing to lose. But you, ma'am, with that precious reputation of yours. Mom didn't need to finish the sentence. The threat was clear enough. The three of us, Mom, Maddie, and I, walked away together. That evening, the notary finalized all the documents. The condo was now fully mine. Matthew agreed to pay 40% of his income, official and unofficial, as child support. You think he'll actually pay? I asked Elena later as we celebrated our victory in a small restaurant. She shrugged. I think he will. After a scandal like that, he can't afford another lawsuit. And he does love Maddie, in his own way, but he does. A month passed after the trial. Matthew made his payments on time, even sent extra once. His text read, "For Maddie, buy her something." I bought her the pink bicycle she'd been dreaming about, the one with the little basket in front. Patricia never showed up again. Word was she'd moved to her country estate and stopped leaving the house. Matthew rented a small apartment and started seeing a therapist. Sometimes he called, asking about Maddie. I'd tell him how she was doing, how she was learning, what she liked, what she dreamed of. He'd listen silently, then whisper, "Thank you," and hang up. Maddie rarely asked about her dad anymore. When she did, I told her the truth. Daddy's getting help right now. When he gets better, you'll see him again. She understood more than she said. A smart girl, too smart for her 7 years. Yesterday, she drew a picture, a house. Inside were me, her, Grandma from Ohio, and our cat, Marley. "And where's Daddy?" I asked. She thought for a moment, then drew a small figure outside the window. "Daddy's outside for now, but if he's good, I'll let him in." Life went on. I kept working at the same hospital, only now without looking over my shoulder for Patricia's criticism. The kids still adored me, the parents still thanked me, and my supervisor, Vera, approached me one afternoon. "Iris, you've got real talent. You should go to med school. I'll pull some strings, you can get in on a sponsored program." I thought about it and agreed. Why not? I was 32, not that old. Maddie would grow up soon, things would get easier. For now, I was preparing for exams, biology, chemistry, everything I once studied in school and had long since forgotten. Maddie helped however she could. She'd sit next to me while I memorized formulas, bring me tea, and say, "Mommy, you're amazing. You're gonna make it." And I believed her. I had to make it. One May evening, when the lilacs outside were blooming so intensely the scent made my head spin, the doorbell rang. I opened it, and there was Matthew. Thinner, his hair cut short, he'd always worn it stylish before, dressed simply in jeans and a t-shirt. "Can I come in?" he asked quietly. "I'm not here for Maddie. I'm here for you." We sat in the kitchen. I poured tea, set out the oatmeal cookies he used to love. He looked surprised. "You remember?" "I remember a lot, Matthew. The good and the bad." He was silent for a long time, then said, "I want to apologize. Really apologize. Not because my therapist told me to, but because I finally get it. I was a jerk, Iris. A complete jerk. I let my mom control my life, destroyed our family, almost lost my daughter. And I did lose you." "You didn't lose your daughter," I said. "If you're a decent father, Maddie will always be yours." "And you? Did I lose you forever?" I looked at him, the man I'd once loved more than life, the man I'd dreamed of growing old with, the father of my child, and I realized that love was gone. What remained was memory, a shared past, a child. But not love. "Yes, Matthew. Forever. You killed my love when you chose your mother over your family. When you let her humiliate me. When you tried to take my daughter away. Some things can't be forgiven." He nodded. "I understand. You're right. I just wanted you to know, I've changed. Or I'm trying to. I don't talk to Mom anymore. I live on my own. Work on my own. It's hard, but it's my life now. For the first time, it's mine. I'm glad for you," I said sincerely. "Really. Maybe you'll turn out to be a good dad for Maddie after all. Will you let me see her?" "When her therapist says it's okay, yes. But only under my supervision at first." "Fair enough." He left, and I sat in the kitchen for a long time, staring at my untouched tea. Strangely, I didn't feel anger or resentment, just exhaustion and a kind of release, like setting down a heavy backpack after a long climb. The next morning, Maddie woke up and immediately asked, "Mom, was that Daddy last night?" I heard his voice. I nodded. Yes, it was Daddy. He came to apologize. So did you forgive him? Maddie asked. I hugged her. I let go of the anger, sweetheart, but that doesn't mean things will go back to the way they were. I don't want them to, Maddie said seriously. Back then Grandma Patricia was mean to us. Now it's just us and Grandma from Ohio. We're happy, right? That's right, honey. We're very happy. And that was the pure truth. We were happy. Maddie and I had learned to live just the two of us, to be a team. She helped me cook, especially loved making sandwiches, and I helped her with homework. She started first grade well prepared, already reading fluently. On weekends we'd visit my mom in Ohio or explore New York, discovering new places together. One June day, we went to the zoo. Maddie loved animals and could spend hours watching them. Standing by the monkey enclosure, she suddenly said, "Mom, you know who Grandma Patricia looks like? That monkey." She pointed at an old macaque sitting proudly, looking down at everyone with disdain. I couldn't help it. I burst out laughing. Loudly, freely, so hard that people turned to look. Maddie laughed too, and soon we were both standing by the cage, laughing like crazy. Then it hit me, when was the last time I'd laughed like that? I couldn't remember. Probably long before Patricia had started her war against me. You know what, Maddie? I said when we finally stopped. Let's not talk about Grandma Patricia anymore. She's in the past. We're looking to the future. Maddie nodded solemnly. Okay, so what's in the future? In the future? In the future, everything's going to be great. I'll become a doctor, you'll grow up smart and beautiful, and we'll buy a house outside the city. And a dog, Maddie added. And a dog, I agreed, smiling. Then something unexpected happened in July. Elena, my lawyer, called. Iris, are you sitting down? Something's happened. Patricia Perry transferred all her property to your daughter. All of it. The Westchester estate, the Manhattan apartment, the bank accounts. She set up a trust in Maddie's name, with you as trustee until she turns 18. I was speechless. This has to be a trap, I finally managed to say. Elena laughed. I thought the same thing. But I checked everything, it's all legitimate. She even included a letter. Want me to read it? Go ahead, I whispered. Elena cleared her throat and began. Iris, I'm not asking for forgiveness, because I know you won't forgive me, and I don't need your forgiveness. But I admit, you were stronger. You won. All my life I believed money could buy everything, love, respect, loyalty. You proved me wrong. My granddaughter loves you not for money. My son lost you not because of money. I lost my son because of money. Ironic, isn't it? I don't want Maddie to grow up thinking badly of me. Let this property be my apology to her. Not to you, to her. Raise her to be a good person. Not like me. Patricia Perry. I sat there frozen. It was unexpected? No, it was unbelievable. Patricia, who'd been ready to destroy me for money, was now giving it all to Maddie? Iris, you there? Elena asked, worried. Yes. I'm just shocked. What should I do? Nothing. Accept the trusteeship and manage it for your daughter's benefit. It's a fortune, Iris. Maddie's set for life. That evening, I told Maddie. I explained in simple words that Grandma Patricia had left her a house and money for school. Maddie listened and asked, so is Grandma Patricia a good person now? I thought about it. I don't know, sweetheart. Maybe she realized her mistakes. People can change sometimes. And did Daddy change? Daddy's trying. Then maybe Grandma Patricia's trying too? Children's wisdom is amazing. Maybe she is, sweetheart. Maybe she really is. The first time Matthew met with Maddie after the divorce was in August. The therapist had approved. It seemed Matthew was making progress, working through his issues. We met in the park, on neutral ground. I sat on a nearby bench, pretending to read. Matthew brought Maddie ice cream and a new princess book. They sat on the swings, talking. I couldn't hear what they said, but Maddie was laughing, and Matthew was smiling. For the first time in ages, I saw him smile genuinely, not that fake, polished grin of a businessman, but a real one. When their hour was up, Maddie ran back to me. Mom, Daddy said he loves me. I stroked her hair. Of course he does, sweetheart. You're his little girl. And he said he'll never let anyone hurt us again. Is that true? I looked at Matthew standing in the distance. He nodded at me, then walked away. I hope so, baby, I said softly. I really hope so. Gradually, their visits became regular. Every Saturday, Matthew picked Maddie up for 3 hours. They went to the movies, museums, amusement parks. Maddie came home glowing, happy, excited, full of stories. And I was glad for her. Every little girl needs a father, even if he's imperfect. In September, Maddie started second grade. Both Matthew and I went to the parent-teacher meeting. The teacher, a young woman about 25, looked a little surprised at first but quickly recovered. I'm so glad you both came. Maddie's a wonderful girl, one of our best students. We sat side by side, listening as she praised our daughter. For a brief moment, it almost felt like we were a family again, but only for a moment. When the meeting ended, we said polite goodbyes and went our separate ways. Mom, why aren't you and Dad together? Maddie asked that evening. I thought for a long time about how to answer without hurting her. You see, sweetheart, sometimes people realize it's better for them to live apart. That doesn't mean they stop loving their children. We both love you, just in different ways. Can you fall in love with each other again? I shook my head. No, honey, but we can be friends, for you. Maddie sighed. That's sad, but friends are good too. In October, something happened I never expected. I got a call from an unfamiliar number. A woman's voice asked to meet. It was Kevin's wife, Lena, the same one whose premature baby I had once cared for in the ICU. We met at the same cafe where I'd once met Kevin. Lena looked great, tanned, fit, her eyes shining. Iris, I wanted to thank you, she began. For Danny. For opening Kevin's eyes. Oh, come on, Lena, you don't have to. No, listen. I know what you went through. Kevin told me everything. And I admire you. You didn't break, didn't become bitter, and you still help people. That's rare. We talked for hours. Lena told me she owned a small cafe and bakery now, making custom cakes. If you ever need one for Maddie's birthday, call me, I'll make the prettiest cake in the world. And just like that, I had a friend. A real one. We started meeting on weekends, walking with the kids. Danny was 4 and adored Maddie, drinking coffee, talking about everything. Lena never asked about Matthew, never gave advice, she just was there. And then Andrew came into my life. Cliché, right? A new man after a divorce. But it wasn't quite so simple. Andrew was an anesthesiologist at our hospital. We'd worked together for 3 years, but I'd barely noticed him before. Tall, lean, glasses, always serious. The kids were a little scared of him, too stern looking. But one day, I saw him comforting a 5-year-old boy before surgery. Andrew crouched down in front of the child, showing him glove tricks, the same ones I usually did. The boy giggled, and his fear melted away. Where'd you learn that? I asked. Andrew looked embarrassed. I watched you. You're our resident child whisperer. We talked. I learned he was a widower. His wife had died of cancer 3 years earlier. No kids. They hadn't had time. Why pediatrics? I asked. He shrugged. Kids are honest. If they're in pain, they cry. If they're happy, they laugh. No pretending. We started having lunch together in the hospital cafeteria. Then he suggested grabbing coffee after a shift. Then a movie. I wasn't sure at first if I was ready. Was it too soon? What would Maddie think? To my surprise, Maddie took to Andrew easily. He came over once, bringing her a complicated building set with 1,000 pieces. I had one just like this when I was your age, he said. They sat on the floor putting it together, and I watched for 3 hours as my daughter and this serious man worked side by side, carefully connecting the tiny pieces. He's nice, Maddie announced when Andrew left. He doesn't yell like Grandma Patricia, and he doesn't lie like Dad used to. He's a normal guy. In November, we celebrated Maddie's 8th birthday, an important milestone. I offered to invite her classmates, but Maddie shook her head. Let's do it just as a family. You, me, Grandma from Ohio, Dad. And can Uncle Andrew come too? It was an unusual birthday. Around the same table sat me, Matthew, my mom, Andrew, and the birthday girl. Later, Lena and Kevin arrived with Danny and a giant unicorn cake. Matthew tensed when he saw Kevin, but Kevin extended his hand. Peace? Matthew nodded and shook it. Peace. We ate cake, laughed at Maddie's jokes. For a while, it felt like that terrible year, the trial, the accusations, all of it had never happened. We were just people who cared about the same child. Make a wish, I said as Maddie blew out the candles. She closed her eyes, thought for a moment, and blew, all 8 candles went out at once. What did you wish for? Danny asked. Maddie grinned. Can't tell, or it won't come true. That evening, after everyone had left and Maddie fell asleep hugging the new teddy bear Andrew gave her, I stepped out onto the balcony. The cold November air stung my face, but I felt peaceful. My phone rang. Matthew. Thanks for inviting me, he said. I know it wasn't easy for you. It was for Maddie, I replied. She wanted you there. I know. And that Andrew guy, he's a good man. Maddie likes him. I was surprised. You don't mind? What right do I have to mind? I blew my chance. I just hope you get luckier than I did. We said goodbye, and I stayed outside, watching the city lights flicker on as New York settled into the night. Somewhere out there, Patricia was probably sitting alone, thinking about everything she'd lost. Somewhere, Matthew was learning to live on his own. And somewhere, Andrew was maybe thinking about me. Inside, in the apartment I'd fought so hard to keep, my daughter slept peacefully, my smart, brave little girl who had saved us both with her courage and childlike wisdom. In December, I passed my first medical school exam, biology, with a solid B. Not perfect, but a start. Andrew helped me study, explaining the tough subjects. Maddie helped too, quizzing me with flashcards we made together. Mom, why do you need to study? She asked one night. You already work in a hospital. I want to become a doctor, to heal children. Is being a nurse bad? No, sweetheart. It's wonderful, but I want to learn more, do more. You understand? Maddie nodded. I get it. Like me, I'm in second grade now, but I'll go to third, fourth, and then college. Where do you want to study? I don't know yet. Maybe I'll be a doctor like you, or a lawyer like Aunt Elena. She's awesome. Right before New Year's, Elena, my lawyer, called. Iris, I have a favor to ask. Well, actually, it's for one of my clients. Her situation's a lot like yours was, an abusive husband, a toxic mother-in-law. She wants to talk to you, get some strength. I agreed. The young woman's name was Kate, 27. Beautiful but broken, tired eyes, nervous hands. Listening to her, I saw myself a year ago, the same fear, the same uncertainty, the same question, what if they take my child? Kate, I said firmly, record everything. Every word, every threat. Keep a diary, save the texts, take screenshots of every chat. And most importantly, don't be afraid. Fear is their biggest weapon. The moment you stop being afraid, they lose all power. She left a different person, standing taller, her gaze steady. Thank you, she said as she was leaving. You gave me hope. We spent New Year's Eve at my mom's house in Ohio, me, Maddie, Mom, and, unexpectedly, Andrew. He volunteered to come along. I don't want to celebrate alone. Can I join you? Mom welcomed him warmly, fed him until he couldn't eat another bite, and asked 100 questions about his life. He's a good man, she whispered to me in the kitchen. Not like your ex, that mama's boy. Mom, it's too soon for that kind of talk. Too soon? You're 32, he's 37. How's that too soon? Maddie likes him, that's what matters. At midnight we went outside to watch the fireworks. Maddie squealed with joy, Mom smiled, and Andrew stood quietly beside me. He didn't hug me or take my hand, he just stood there. And that was enough. I felt calm. Happy New Year, he said softly. May it be better than the last one. I smiled. It can't possibly be worse. There's nowhere lower to go. In January, exactly a year after Matthew had started his war, I received a letter from Patricia. A real paper letter in an envelope. Iris, I've thought for a long time about whether to write or not. I decided to write. Not to justify myself, there's no justification, but to explain. I always believed I knew what was best for my son. I chose his friends, his girlfriends, his career. I thought it was care, but it was control. I robbed him of the ability to make decisions, to take responsibility, to be a man. And when he met you, a girl who wasn't on my list, a girl who loved him, not his money, I panicked. I was afraid of losing control. And in the end, I lost my son. He doesn't answer my calls, doesn't open the door. And he's right. I deserve it. Take care of Maddie. She's an extraordinary child. She has something Max never had, a strong spirit. That's from you. If you don't reply, I'll understand. If you do, I'll be grateful. P. I debated for days whether to respond. I asked Mom and Andrew. Don't bother, Mom said flatly. She doesn't deserve it. Andrew said, it's your choice. But holding on to resentment hurts you more than her. So I wrote back. Briefly. Patricia, thank you for your letter and for what you did for Maddie. The past can't be changed, but the future can. If you'd like to see your granddaughter, come for her birthday, alone, without judgment or manipulation. Let's try to start over. I.P. In February, I was accepted into medical school. I didn't get a scholarship, the competition was fierce, but I got in on a paid program. I had the money, thanks to Matthew's child support and my salary. Andrew offered to help, but I refused. I'll manage on my own. He smiled. That's what I love about you, your pride. It was the first time he'd said love. Not I care about you, not you're special, but love. I didn't answer then. I wasn't ready, but I kissed him. For the first time. Studying was hard. Work, classes, motherhood, everything at once. But I handled it. Maddie did her homework while I studied anatomy. Andrew came by in the evenings, helping both of us. Sometimes Matthew stopped by, to pick up Maddie or just to visit. We'd learned to talk without blame, without anger. One evening he said, "You know, Iris, I'm almost grateful for the divorce. If it hadn't happened, I'd still be that mama's boy forever. Now, maybe I'm no superhero, but at least I make my own choices." "How does that feel?" I asked. "Terrifying," he admitted, "but also freeing. You know? Free." I understood. Freedom is like that, terrifying and beautiful all at once. Then, on March 8th, something unexpected happened. There was a knock at the door early in the morning. I opened it, and there was Patricia, but not the polished, Chanel-wearing woman I once knew. Just an older lady in a plain coat. "May I come in?" she asked quietly. I stepped aside. Of course. She looked around the apartment. Nothing had changed much, except the photos. Now the walls showed only Maddie and me. No Matthew. "Where's Maddie?" she asked. "At school. It's a weekday." We sat in the kitchen. I poured tea. We sat in silence for a while before she spoke. "I came to apologize, and to thank you for inviting me to the birthday. I really want to see my granddaughter." "Patricia," I began, but she interrupted gently. "Just call me Patricia. I'm no longer that arrogant woman who told everyone how to live." We talked for 2 hours. She told me how hard it had been to face her mistakes. How she'd started therapy, can you imagine? Patricia and therapy. How she realized she'd lived her whole life wrong. "I had every chance at happiness," she said. "A husband who loved me, a good son. And I ruined it all with my need to control everything. I nagged my husband into a heart attack. I turned my son into a man without will. And when you appeared, I saw you as a threat. You were everything I wasn't, simple, sincere, loving. And I hated you for it." When Maddie came home from school, she froze in the doorway. "Grandma Patricia." Patricia stood, and I saw her hands trembling. "Hello, Maddie. May I hug you?" Maddie looked at me. I nodded. She walked over and carefully hugged her grandmother. Patricia began to cry, silently, her shoulders shaking. "Forgive me, sweetheart. Forgive your foolish grandma." Maddie patted her back like a grown-up. "Don't cry, Grandma. It's okay. Mom said people can change. Did you change?" "Sweetheart, I'm trying very hard." From then on, Patricia started visiting once a week. Quietly, humbly, without gifts or lectures. She played with Maddie, helped with homework, told stories from Matthew's childhood. Sometimes the three of us drank tea and chatted. A strange little trio, ex-daughter-in-law and ex-mother-in-law. April marked a year since the trial. I wouldn't have remembered if Maddie hadn't mentioned it. "Mom, it's been a year." "A year since what?" "Since we won the case. Since I played the recording." We celebrated, went to a movie, then a cafe. Maddie ordered the biggest ice cream on the menu and said, "To victory." I laughed. "You're like a little general." "A generalissimo," Maddie corrected proudly. That evening, Matthew called. "Iris, I was thinking maybe we could all go somewhere this summer. You, me, Maddie. Not as a family, just for Maddie. Maybe the beach." I thought about it and said yes. Why not? Maddie would love that. "And Andrew? I mean, you're Andrew." "I get it. Ask him. Maybe the four of us can go." Andrew took it calmly. "If you're comfortable, I'm fine with it. Matthew seems reasonable now." So we went to California in June. We rented 2 adjoining rooms in a small seaside hotel. It was fine. Actually, it was good. Maddie was in heaven, her parents and her favorite Uncle Andrew together at the ocean. One evening, after Maddie fell asleep, the 4 of us sat on the terrace, me, Andrew, Matthew, and Patricia, who had come for a few days. We drank wine, Patricia had juice, said she'd quit drinking, and watched the waves. "We're quite the group," Matthew said. "Ex-spouses, a new boyfriend, and a former mother-in-law." Patricia chuckled. Sounds like a soap opera. Even Santa Barbara would envy us. You know what? Andrew said suddenly. I like it. You've all been through hell, but you didn't turn bitter. You found the strength to forgive and start over. That's rare. We didn't forgive, I corrected him. We let go. There's a difference. Maybe so, he said, but the result's the same. You're all here, together, for Maddie. For Maddie. Yes, that was the truth. For her, we were all trying to be better. The summer flew by. I passed my exams, barely scraped by in chemistry, but I didn't care. Maddie had the time of her life at the beach. And Andrew, he proposed. Yes, just like that, no grand gesture, no big speech. We were sitting in the kitchen, drinking tea, when he suddenly said, "Marry me." I nearly choked on my tea. What? Marry me, Iris. I love you. I love Maddie. I want us to be a family. Andrew, I need to think. Think. I'll wait. I thought for a month. I talked to my mom, she was all for it. To Elena, my lawyer, she said, take the risk. And to Lena, my friend, she said, say yes before he runs away. But most importantly, I talked to Maddie. Maddie, what do you think about Uncle Andrew? He's nice. He's kind. And if he became your stepdad? Maddie thought for a moment. Would Dad be upset? Dad will always be your dad. You just have a stepdad too. Like Cinderella? I hope he's a good one, not like hers. Maddie laughed. Uncle Andrew is good. Mom, if you love him, marry him. I don't mind. In September, I said yes. The wedding was simple, just close family and friends. My mom, Maddie, Andrew's sweet parents from Cleveland, Lena and Kevin, Elena the lawyer, and, unexpectedly, Matthew and Patricia. Do you mind? Matthew asked the day before. We'd like to come. Maddie's our daughter and granddaughter, after all. I didn't mind. Let them come. City Hall, a small restaurant, dancing. Maddie was my little bridesmaid, running around in her pink dress like a princess. Matthew gave a toast, to happiness, the kind that money can't buy. Patricia gave us a painting, not expensive, just a beautiful landscape. For your new home, she said. When Andrew and I danced our first slow dance, he whispered, "Thank you." For what? For giving me a chance. I'd stopped believing love was possible. I had too, I admitted. Life went on, now the four of us, me, Andrew, Maddie, and Marley the cat, who accepted the new family member with grace. We moved into a bigger house, paid for with the funds Patricia had left under Maddie's name. Maddie started third grade, I began my second year of medical school, and Andrew got promoted to head of his department. Matthew saw Maddie every week. Sometimes we even had dinner together, all of us, one big, strange family. Patricia came to every holiday. She even learned to bake pies, something she used to consider beneath her. Then, that New Year's, a small miracle happened. I found out I was pregnant. Andrew was over the moon. Maddie proudly announced she'd be the best big sister in the world. Matthew congratulated me sincerely, without any trace of bitterness. Patricia knitted tiny baby booties, by hand. You know, my mom said as we watched the New Year's sunrise, I thought your life was over when Matthew filed for divorce. Turns out, it was just beginning. Not beginning, Mom, I said. It changed. It became real. In March, Ethan was born. Small, loud, perfect. Maddie never left his side. Andrew carried him around for hours, and my mom moved in to help. Even Matthew and Patricia came to visit. What a beautiful boy, Patricia said, looking at the sleeping baby. You're lucky. We all are, I said. Lucky to have changed. To have become better people. She nodded. Sometimes I wonder, what if I hadn't interfered? Maybe you and Matthew would have been happy. We wouldn't have, I said firmly. Matthew needed to grow up. I needed to learn my worth. We both had to go through all that to become who we are now. You're wise, Iris. Not wise, just someone who learned from her mistakes. A year passed. Maddie started 4th grade, top of her class. Ethan started walking, a tiny, joyful tornado. I was in my 3rd year of mid-school. It was harder, but also more fascinating than ever. Andrew offered to adopt Maddie, but she refused. I already have a dad. He's not perfect, but he's my dad. Matthew, by the way, met someone. Olivia, divorced, with a son. They met through their therapist. She was also recovering from a difficult divorce. Maddie was cautious at first, but then warmed up. She's nice. Doesn't yell, doesn't lie. And she makes really good cookies. One evening, after the kids were asleep, Andrew and I sat on the porch. A quiet summer night, crickets, stars. Are you happy? He asked. I thought about it. Was I? I had a husband I loved, 2 amazing kids, a career I was building, real friends. Even my ex-husband and ex-mother-in-law had become, in a way, part of my family. Yes, I said. I'm happy. And you? I never thought this was possible. I thought my happiness died with my first wife. But life gives you second chances. And third. And fourth. The trick is not to waste them. We sat there, holding each other, watching the stars. Somewhere in New York, Matthew was probably reading a bedtime story to Olivia's son. Patricia, in her country house, might have been knitting another pair of booties. Olivia was pregnant, too. My mom was in the kitchen, making dough for tomorrow's pies. Maddie and Ethan were fast asleep. Everyone was where they were meant to be, not necessarily perfectly happy, but at peace. And that was enough. You know, I said to Andrew, if someone had told me a year ago my life would turn out like this, I wouldn't have believed them. What did you think would happen? I thought Maddie and I would be alone against the whole world. Turns out, the world isn't against us, you just have to learn how to meet it halfway. The next morning, Ethan woke me up by climbing into bed and pressing his wet nose to my cheek. Mama. Then Maddie came running in. Mom, can we go to the zoo with Dad and Aunt Olivia? Just a regular morning for a regular family. Not perfect. Not fairy tale. Real. A family I'd had to fight for, build from the ruins of the past. I got up, picked Ethan up, kissed Maddie on the head. Sure, go to the zoo. Just be back by lunch, Grandma's baking pies. Yay! Maddie shouted and ran off to call her dad. Life went on. Real life, messy, complicated, beautiful. And you know what? That hell we went through was worth it. Because without it, there wouldn't be this morning, this home, this family. My story began with someone yelling, "You'll leave here with nothing." And you know what? I did leave with nothing. No money, no illusions, no rose-colored glasses. But I left rich in strength, and experience, and faith in myself. And no one can ever take that away. Money? Money's just paper. Real wealth is Maddie's smile, Ethan's first steps, Mom's pies, Andrew's embrace. It's Matthew learning to be a father. It's Patricia learning to be human. It's me learning to be myself. And if I were offered the chance to go back and live it all again, without the pain, without the court, without the humiliation, I'd refuse. Because the Iris who married Matthew 8 years ago was weak, dependent, unsure of her worth. This Iris is strong. This Iris knows what she's capable of. This Iris is happy. And it all began the day my 7-year-old daughter stood up in court and said, "Can I play the recording? Thank you, my girl, for your courage, your brilliance, for saving us both. Thank you for teaching me how to fight." Is the story over? Of course not. Life doesn't end with a happy ending, it goes on. There will be new challenges, new joys, new meetings and goodbyes. But now I know, we'll be okay. We'll handle it, together, with our strange, patchwork, but very real family. And one last thing. If you, the person reading these lines, are going through something like this right now, don't give up. Record everything, document everything, find a good lawyer. But above all, don't be afraid. Fear is their weapon, and yours is the truth. And the truth always wins. Maybe not right away, maybe through pain and tears, but it wins. You're stronger than you think. You deserve happiness. You deserve love and respect. And if someone tells you otherwise, they're lying. Even if that someone is the person closest to you. Be brave. Be strong. Be yourself. And you'll make it. But that wasn't the end. Oh no, life had more surprises in store for us. 6 months after that happy summer, something happened that turned everything upside down. It was an October evening, cold, wet, miserable. I was studying for another exam. Andrew was putting Ethan to bed when the phone rang. Matthew? His voice sounded strange, tight. Iris, can I come over? It's urgent. It's about Maddie. My heart dropped. What happened? Matthew, tell me. I can't over the phone. I'll be there in half an hour. Those 30 minutes were the longest of my life. Andrew held me close, trying to calm me down, but I couldn't sit still. Maddie was at a friend's birthday party, supposed to come home in an hour. When Matthew arrived, he wasn't alone, Olivia was with him. Both looked pale, tense. What's going on? Andrew asked before I could even form words. Matthew sat down, pressing his hands to his head. My mother. She's filed for custody of Maddie. What? I jumped up so fast that my teacup spilled. How? On what grounds? Olivia, who, as it turned out, had a law degree, took a folder out of her bag. Patricia claims that both of you are unfit parents. You, Iris, because you remarried and can't give Maddie enough attention now that you have a baby. Matthew, because he lives with me out of wedlock and we're expecting a child. She's demanding legal guardianship as the grandmother, saying she can provide a more stable environment. I sat back down. My legs wouldn't hold me. But she changed. She came over, apologized, brought gifts. Matthew gave a bitter laugh. It was all part of a plan, Iris. She's been preparing for this. Gathering evidence that we're both too busy, that Maddie spends too much time with your mom while you study. She even hired a private investigator. A private investigator? Andrew asked, incredulous. Yes, Olivia nodded. Here, look. She spread a stack of photos on the table. Maddie walking home from school alone. Maddie sitting by the window while I was at class. Maddie shopping with my mom. Dozens of photos of our ordinary life, framed to look like neglect. She's lost her mind, I whispered. Completely lost it. No, Matthew shook his head. She's perfectly sane. Cold and calculated. You know what she told me? That if she doesn't save Maddie now, she'll lose her last chance to raise a child the right way. That she failed with me but won't fail with Maddie. We have to do something. I jumped up again. Elena. We need to call Elena. My lawyer picked up right away. Iris, what happened? I told her everything in a rush. She was quiet for a moment, then said, Okay, calm down. Tomorrow morning, my office, all of you. Bring every document you have, every certificate, every letter of recommendation. Iris, don't panic. Custody cases going to grandparents over capable parents are almost unheard of. But we'll have to fight hard. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat by Ethan's crib, watching him breathe, thinking, not again. Please, not another court battle, not another humiliation. Andrew came in with a blanket, wrapped it around my shoulders. We'll get through this. Together. In the morning, before our meeting with Elena, Maddie came home early. Her friend got sick. The party was canceled. She sat down for breakfast and suddenly asked, Mom, why were Dad and Aunt Olivia so sad last night? I didn't lie. Grandma Patricia is acting up again. She wants to take you away from us. Maddie turned pale. Take me? Forever? She wants to become your guardian. But I don't want to live with her. I want to be with you, and Dad, and Andrew, and Ethan. She started crying, and I hugged her tight. No one's taking you, sweetheart. We won't let that happen. I promise. What if the court decides? The court won't. Remember Aunt Elena, the lawyer? She'll help us again. At Elena's office, everyone gathered, me, Andrew, Matthew, and Olivia. Even my mom had come from Ohio. Elena studied the documents Patricia had filed. Clever, she said finally. Very clever. But there are weaknesses. First, she signed away her claims a year ago. Second, she transferred her property to Maddie, acknowledging your stability as parents. Third, she smiled. We still have all those recordings from the first trial, where she plotted witness bribery and slander. But it's been a year, Matthew objected. She'll say she changed. Changed so much that she's doing the exact same thing again? Elena snorted. No, this is clear manipulation. And we'll prove it. The next few weeks were hell. Patricia hired an entire legal team, 3 young, ruthless attorneys who buried us in motions and requests. They demanded home inspections, psychological evaluations for Maddie, medical assessments for every family member. The home inspection went perfectly. A big house, Maddie's own room, Ethan's nursery, everything spotless. But the inspector wasn't impressed. What guarantee do we have that you won't move into a small apartment next year? Asked a stern woman from Child Services. And what guarantee do we have that Grandma won't die tomorrow? My mom snapped. The woman did not appreciate the humor. The psychological evaluation was the worst. 3 hours of questioning Maddie, how she lived, who she loved, who she feared. She came out of the office in tears. She kept asking if anyone hits me or yells at me. I said no, but she didn't believe me. Meanwhile, Patricia launched a media campaign. Suddenly a tabloid article appeared, Millionaire Grandmother Fights for Neglected Granddaughter. It painted me as an overworked, inattentive mother with a questionable remarriage, and Matthew as an irresponsible father who abandoned his family. Don't read that trash, Andrew said, taking the tablet from my hands. But I already had. I'd read the comments too, half of them siding with the poor grandmother, the other half calling me a gold digger. Unexpectedly, support poured in from my coworkers. Vera, the head nurse, organized a petition in my defense. Everyone signed, doctors, nurses, even janitors. "You're the best mother I know," she said. "If some rich fool thinks money matters more than love, she's wrong." Kevin and Lena joined the fight too. Kevin gave an official statement about Patricia's schemes the previous year. Lena gathered Maddie's classmates' parents. All of them wrote letters describing her as a happy, well-adjusted child from a loving family. But the most surprising ally appeared a week before the trial. A woman called me. "Iris, my name is Gloria. I used to be Patricia's housekeeper. Can we meet?" We met in the park. Gloria was about 50, elegant, calm, intelligent. "I worked for Patricia for 15 years, she began. "I saw Matthew grow up, I saw you appear, I saw Maddie born. And I saw what that woman did to her son." She told me horrifying things. How Patricia had controlled every move Matthew made, reading his messages, listening to his calls, threatening to cut him off if he disobeyed. How she deliberately turned him against friends she didn't approve of. "And when you came along?" Gloria sighed. "She lost her mind. Said you'd stolen her son. She was plotting how to get rid of you from the very first day of your marriage." "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. Gloria sighed. "Because a month ago she called me. She offered me my old job back, at double pay. Said a child would soon be living in the house, Maddie." I asked, "What about her parents?" She laughed and said, "Parents? They're nobodies. I'll prove they're unfit and take the girl myself. I'll raise her the right way, not like that weakling Matthew." I turned her down. "But I thought you should know. Would you testify in court?" I asked, clinging to hope. Gloria nodded. "Yes. I can't let her destroy another life." 3 days before the hearing, something else happened. Maddie came home from school in tears, her dress torn, her backpack filthy. "What happened?" I rushed to her. Between sobs, she told me, after school, a strange woman had grabbed her by the arm and tried to pull her into a car. Maddie managed to break free, ran, fell, but made it back to the school, where teachers were still around. We raced to the police, filed a report, reviewed the security footage. The recording showed a woman around 30, wearing dark glasses and a wig. The car had no plates. "We'll find her," the investigator promised. But I already knew whose idea it was. That evening, Patricia called. "Iris, I heard what happened. How awful. It's not safe for children these days. Maybe you should consider letting Maddie stay somewhere more secure. I, for example, have private security." I hung up. My hands were shaking with rage. Andrew took the phone from me. "Enough. That's bait. She's trying to make you lose control, say something she can use." But I already understood. Patricia had decided, if she couldn't win legally, she'd use fear. "We're leaving," Andrew said. "Right now. To my parents' place in Cleveland, until this is over. But the trial's in 3 days. We'll come back for it. What matters now is keeping Maddie safe." We packed in 2 hours, Maddie, Ethan, the essentials. My mom stayed behind. "Someone has to watch the house," she said, but we both knew she was staying as a lookout, in case someone showed up. Cleveland greeted us with rain. Andrew's parents, Michael and Ann, welcomed us like family. No questions, no judgment, just warm rooms, hot food, quiet reassurance. Maddie finally relaxed a little, even smiled when Grandpa Mike showed her his butterfly collection. 2 days flew by. Elena called constantly. She needed more paperwork, another certificate, another signature. Matthew and Olivia came to Cleveland too, safer together, they said. We sat in Andrew's parents' kitchen, drinking tea, planning our defense like a war council. "We have Gloria's testimony," Elena said on the video call, ticking points off on her fingers. "We have written statements from everyone possible. We have an independent psychologist's report confirming Maddie's attachment to her parents. We have the attack incident. We'll link it to the grandmother's pressure. Our chances are good." "And if not?" Olivia asked quietly. She was 7 months pregnant, exhausted and anxious. Elena paused. "Then we appeal. All the way to the Supreme Court if we have to." The morning of the trial, we left at 5 a.m. in 2 cars, Andrew and I with the kids in one, Matthew and Olivia in the other. Maddie stayed silent the whole way, clutching my hand. The courtroom was packed. Besides the parties involved, reporters filled the seats, clearly Patricia's doing. She sat in the front row, dressed in black like a widow, her 3 lawyers beside her, stone-faced. The judge, an older man, around 60, gray-haired and weary, opened the session. "This court will now hear the case regarding the custody of minor Madison Perry. Counsel for the plaintiff, you may proceed." Patricia's lead attorney stood. He spoke at length, smoothly, eloquently, convincingly, about how a child needs stability that her parents supposedly can't provide. How the mother is too busy with work and school, the father distracted by a new family. How only the grandmother, with her time and means, can offer the child a proper upbringing. Here, he said, laying down a stack of photos, is proof the child is often left unsupervised. Here's a psychologist's report, another folder, stating the girl is under stress due to constant family changes. And here, he lifted a paper dramatically, is the plaintiff's financial statement, a fortune compared to, he sneered at me, a student's scholarship and a nurse's salary. Elena rose. Objection. Financial status is not grounds for depriving a parent of custody. The judge nodded. Sustained. Counselor, please stick to facts, not theatrics. But the lawyer pressed on, talking about my questionable associates, meaning Andrew, about my unstable maternal lineage, my mom nearly leapt from her seat, and about Matthew's irresponsibility for abandoning his family. Matthew went pale. When he finally finished, Elena stood. And then everything changed. She spoke with passion and clarity that filled the room. About a mother who spent sleepless nights by sick children's beds and still studied to become a doctor. About a father who admitted his mistakes and fought to be better. About a grandmother who once tried to destroy a family and now, under the guise of love, sought control again. Your Honor, Elena said, I have a witness who can shed light on the plaintiff's true motives. Gloria took the stand. Patricia turned white. Gloria? You? Gloria's testimony was devastating. She told everything, the control, the manipulation, the schemes, the recent offer to raise Maddie properly. Patricia's lawyers tried to discredit her, but Gloria held firm. Then came more witnesses. Vera spoke about me, as a nurse, as a mother. Maddie's teacher talked about her success at school. Kevin confirmed Patricia's earlier attempt to steal the child through deceit. Even the investigator handling Maddie's abduction hinted that certain interested parties were under suspicion. But the turning point came when Maddie herself was called to speak. The judge invited her to the stand. My daughter stood tall, squared her shoulders, and said clearly, Your Honor, I want to live with my mom and dad. I love Grandma Patricia, but she doesn't want me because she loves me, she wants to control everyone. She told Mom on the phone that if Mom didn't give me up nicely, she'd do it the hard way. The courtroom erupted. The judge banged his gavel. Order. Young lady, are you sure about what you're saying? Maddie nodded. Yes, and I have a recording. She pulled out my phone. I recorded it when Grandma called. Mom didn't know. I turned on the recorder myself. Patricia shot up from her seat. That's a lie. You coached her. This is fake. But the judge was already listening to the audio, Patricia's voice, cold and clear. It's not safe for kids these days. Maybe Maddie should stay somewhere more protected. After that, the verdict was a foregone conclusion. The judge retired to deliberate and returned an hour later. The court denies Patricia Perry's petition for guardianship. Furthermore, given the circumstances, the court issues a formal warning to the plaintiff to refrain from exerting pressure on the child's family. Any further interference will result in restricted visitation rights. Patricia collapsed onto the bench. Her lawyers whispered urgently, probably discussing an appeal, but she just waved them off. Enough. I lost. She looked at me then, and there was such emptiness in her eyes that, for a fleeting second, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. We walked out of the courthouse as one, Andrew holding Ethan, Maddie beside me, Matthew and Olivia behind us, my mom, Elena. Reporters swarmed with questions, but we just kept walking. It wasn't until we reached the car that Matthew said, Thank you, Iris, for not giving up, for saving our daughter. Our daughter, I repeated softly. She'll always be our daughter, Matthew, no matter what happens. When we got home, a surprise was waiting for us. The whole apartment was decorated with balloons, and on the table sat a cake that read "We won." In the living room, our friends were gathered, Lena and Kevin, my co-workers from the hospital, Maddie's classmates' parents. Surprise! They shouted in unison. Turns out, my mom had organized a celebration while we were in court. I knew you'd win, she said proudly. The truth always wins. We celebrated until evening. Maddie ran around with the other kids. Ethan tried to eat a balloon. The adults laughed and toasted with wine. At some point, I stepped out onto the balcony for some air and saw a familiar figure standing below. Patricia. She was by the building entrance, staring up at our windows. I went downstairs. I don't even know why, I just did. She saw me and didn't run. She just hunched her shoulders even more. What are you doing here? I asked. She looked up, and for the first time, I saw tears in her eyes. I came to say goodbye. To Maddie. Please, may I? After everything I've done, she stopped herself, trembling. I know I have no right to ask. But, Iris, I'm an old woman. Foolish, bitter, lonely. I've lost everything, my son, my granddaughter, the meaning of my life. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking let me say goodbye. I'll leave. For good. I have a house in Italy. I'll live there as long as I have left. But please, let me say goodbye to the girl. I looked at her, this once formidable woman who now seemed just like a frail, broken old lady, and I felt the anger melt away. All that was left was exhaustion and a strange emptiness. Wait here, I said, and went upstairs for Maddie. Maddie, Grandma Patricia is downstairs. She wants to say goodbye. Maddie frowned. She's not trying to take me again, is she? No, she's leaving. For good. Do you want to say goodbye? Maddie thought for a moment and nodded. I do. She's still my grandma. We went down together. When Patricia saw Maddie, she sobbed. My little girl, forgive me. Forgive your foolish grandmother. Maddie walked up to her and hugged her. I'm not mad, Grandma. I'm just sad that you're like this. Like what? Lonely, angry, miserable. Coming from an 8-year-old, it sounded like a verdict. Patricia broke down, clutching her granddaughter. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Maddie gently patted her back. Don't cry, Grandma. Go to Italy, maybe there you'll become kind. They said their goodbyes. Patricia handed Maddie an envelope. This is for you, for your 18th birthday. Don't open it before then. Then she left, bent over, looking 10 years older than she had a few hours ago. We went back upstairs. The party was still going, but I couldn't bring myself to celebrate anymore. I sat quietly in the corner, watching Andrew twirl Ethan around, watching Matthew and Olivia dance, watching Maddie show magic tricks to the younger kids, and wondered, is it really over? Has the war finally ended? But life had one more twist in store. A month after the trial, I got a call from a notary. Mrs. Perry, I need you to come to my office. It concerns the will of Patricia Perry. The will? But she's alive. Was, the notary said dryly. Patricia passed away last week in Milan. Heart attack. I didn't know what to feel. Relief? Pity? Sadness? Maybe all of it at once. Matthew and I went to the notary together. And there, we got another surprise. Patricia had left everything to Maddie. Absolutely everything, her houses, bank accounts, stocks, jewelry. A fortune worth several $1 million. There's also a letter, said the notary, handing me an envelope. I opened it. Matthew and I read it together. My dear ones, if you're reading this, it means I'm already where I probably belong, maybe in hell, if it exists. Just kidding. Maybe not. Maddie once told me that maybe I'd become kind in Italy. I didn't have the time. Or maybe I couldn't. But I tried to do one good thing before leaving. Everything I own now belongs to Maddie. No conditions, no restrictions. You, Iris, and Matthew will manage it jointly until she turns 18. I know you won't spend it on yourselves. You're not like me. Use it for her education, her travels, for her to see the world. Let her grow up free, unlike me, who was trapped by money and control. Let her be happy. Matthew, my son, forgive me. I ruined your life with my love. I thought I was protecting you, but I smothered you instead. You did well to break free. Late, but still. Iris, you were right about everything. You're a strong woman, a true mother. I envied you from the start. Take care of Maddie. Take care of yourself. Goodbye. P. Matthew wept openly, like a child. I hugged him, and we sat there in the notary's office, two former spouses mourning the woman who had caused us so much pain, and, in the end, taught us so much. We told Maddie that evening. She listened quietly, then asked, Did Grandma die because of us? Because she lost? No, sweetheart, Andrew said gently. Her heart was sick. It could have happened any time. But it happened now, Maddie said softly. She died alone. We didn't have an answer. Later we learned she hadn't been entirely alone. Her caregiver, an Italian woman, told us that Patricia's last words were Maddie and forgive me. The funeral was simple. We went, along with a few distant relatives and old business partners. Maddie laid white roses on the casket. Rest in peace, Grandma. I forgive you. After that, life slowly settled down again, but something was different. It was as if Patricia's death had closed a chapter. There was no longer any fear she might show up and cause trouble. But there was also no longer that surge of adrenaline from the fight that had, I realized, fueled me for so long. I studied, worked, raised the kids. Andrew accepted an offer to head a new private clinic. Matthew and Olivia got married and had a baby girl. They named her Lydia. In her memory, Matthew said, "Maybe little Lydia will be happier than the big one." Maddie grew fast. At 9, she was wiser than many adults. She excelled in school, played music. Andrew bought her a grand piano with her grandmother's inheritance, and painted beautifully. But most importantly, she was happy. That simple, quiet kind of happiness money can't buy. One evening, as I was tucking her into bed, I asked, "Maddie, do you ever wish things had gone differently?" She looked at me with her father's brown eyes and said, "How could they have? If Dad and Grandma hadn't started that war, you wouldn't have met Uncle Andrew. I wouldn't have a little brother. Dad would still be Grandma's boy, and Grandma would have died angry. But this way everyone changed. Everyone got better. Even Grandma, a little, at the end. Childlike wisdom. Or maybe not so childlike." A year passed after Patricia's death. We celebrated Maddie's 10th birthday, a real milestone. A big party, the whole family together, our strange, patchwork, but wonderful family. Me, Andrew, Ethan, now walking and calling his sister Maddie instead of Madison. My mom, who'd moved in with us. Andrew's parents, visiting from Cleveland. Matthew, Olivia, baby Lydia. Even Gloria came. We'd become friends after the trial. At dinner, Matthew stood up to make a toast. "I want to say thank you to everyone. Iris, for not giving up when I tried to take everything from her. Andrew, for being a real second father to Maddie. My mother, may she rest in peace, for the lessons she taught us. Harsh ones, but lessons all the same. And most of all, Maddie, for being such a smart, brave, amazing girl. You saved us all, you know? When you played that recording last year, you didn't just win a case, you made all of us finally face ourselves. Happy birthday, sweetheart." Maddie stood, looked around the table, and said, "I want to tell you a secret. Remember last year, when I made a wish on my birthday? I wished that we'd all be together. Everyone, Mom, Dad, Uncle Andrew, even Grandma Patricia. Well, Grandma's not really here, but she left us a gift, the chance to be together without fighting. So my wish came true." "And what are you wishing for this time?" asked Ethan, his face covered in frosting. Maddie paused, thinking. "Probably that every kid could have a family like mine," Maddie said. "Maybe not perfect, maybe a little messy, but full of love." She blew out all 10 candles in one breath. We all applauded. And in that moment, I thought, we did it. Against all odds, through everything we'd been through, we built a family. Not a perfect one, not the kind you see in books, but a real one. That evening, after the guests had gone and the kids were asleep, Andrew and I sat in the kitchen. "You know," he said, "sometimes I wonder, what if we'd met earlier? If there'd been no Matthew, no Patricia, none of that chaos?" I shrugged. "Maybe we wouldn't have noticed each other. I was different back then, unsure, dependent. You were closed off after your wife's death. We needed to go through all that to become ready for each other." He smiled. "You're so wise. Where does that wisdom come from?" "I learned it from our daughter. She's the philosopher in this family." Outside, the rain began to fall. Just an ordinary autumn rain, nothing special. But I felt warm, peaceful. This was my life. A husband I loved and who loved me. Children worth living for. Work that gave my days meaning. Friends who stood by me no matter what. And to think, it all began with someone shouting, "You'll leave here with nothing." Well, Patricia was partly right. I did leave that life with nothing, no illusions, no rose-colored glasses, no blind faith in forever. But I found a different kind of wealth, strength, confidence, a true family, and purpose. And you know what? I'm grateful. Grateful to everyone, for everything. To Matthew, for teaching me never to live someone else's will. To Patricia, for the war that made me stronger. To Maddie, for her wisdom and courage. To Andrew, for his love and support. And to fate, for every trial that shaped me. They say what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. Not true. It breaks us, completely. But we piece ourselves back together, and those golden seams where we crack make us unbreakable. Like the Japanese art of kintsugi, where broken pottery is mended with gold, becoming even more beautiful than before. That's what we all are, broken, yet held together with gold. Matthew, shattered by his mother's control, but rebuilt into a man who finally stood on his own. Patricia, broken by her pride, but gilded at the end by remorse. Me, split apart by betrayal, mended by the love of my daughter and my husband. Even little Maddie, forced to grow up too soon, yet somehow keeping her heart pure. The day after Maddie's birthday, another surprise arrived, a letter from Italy. It was from Maria, the caretaker who'd been with Patricia in her final days. Written in broken English, it said, "Dear family, I am Maria. I take care of your grandmother last days. She talked much about you, about Maddie most. She asked me to write when she die. She say she was not bad woman, only very lonely and scared. She fear to be alone, that why she want control everything. She love, but not know how love right. She asked forgiveness every day, and she leave this for Maddie." Attached to the letter was a flash drive. We played it on the computer. A video appeared. Patricia, thinner, frilier, but still dignified, sat in a chair on a terrace overlooking the Italian hills. "Maddie," she began. Her voice wasn't the cold, commanding one we remembered. It was quiet, almost gentle. "My girl, I know I have no right to call you that after everything I've done. But to me, you'll always be my little girl. The only bright thing I had left in my life these last years. I'm recording this because I know my time is short. My heart's giving out, and I don't want treatment. I'm tired. But before I go, I want you to know I loved you. In my own wrong, selfish way, but I did. You taught me more in your 9 years than I learned in my entire life. You showed me what real love is when you hugged me goodbye, even knowing I tried to take you from your mother. That moment it changed me. Too late, maybe, but it did. Grow up happy, my smart, beautiful girl. Love your mom, she's a wonderful woman. I realized that too late. Love your dad, he's a good man, I just never let him become himself. And remember me sometimes, not as the angry grandmother who tried to take you away, but as the one who finally understood her mistakes. Goodbye, sunshine. Be happy." Maddie watched the video without blinking. When it ended, she whispered, "Can I keep it?" "Of course, sweetheart." She thought for a moment. "You know Grandma really did become kind. Over there, in Italy. We just didn't get to see it. Maybe she was right. Who knows what happens in a person's soul at the end? Maybe Patricia truly changed. Maybe she just grew tired of fighting. But one thing was certain, she left in peace. She left behind not a war, but an inheritance, not only of money, but of a lesson, how not to love." Life went on. I finished my 3rd year of med school with honors. It turns out, studying is easier when you know why you're doing it. Andrew opened his own department and became one of the best pediatric anesthesiologists in New York. Ethan started preschool, overflowing with energy and curiosity. Maddie advanced to 5th grade at a school for gifted children, thanks, ironically, to her grandmother's money. Matthew and Olivia bought a house next door. "I want our girls to grow up together," Matthew said. Little Lydia and Maddie became inseparable despite the age gap. The older one doted on the younger like a living doll. My mom became the neighborhood grandma, every kid adored her. She baked pies, told stories, taught the girls to knit and the boys to build things. "I'm a lucky woman," she'd say. "I've lived to see great-grandkids, my daughter's thriving, my son-in-law's a good man. What more could I want?" And then something happened that brought everything full circle. A 7-year-old boy was admitted to the hospital, beaten, terrified, taken from an abusive home. His father was an alcoholic, his mother dead, his grandmother no better than the father. The boy, Sam, didn't speak. He just stared with huge gray eyes and flinched at every sudden sound. I took care of him for 2 weeks, reading him stories, doing glove tricks, bringing toys. On the 3rd day, he smiled. On the 5th, he held my hand. On the 7th, he whispered, "Thank you." Andrew grew attached too. He spent hours with the boy, building with blocks, teaching him chess. Maddie came after school, bringing her books to read aloud. When the time came to send Sam to an orphanage, I couldn't take it. "Andrew, what if we didn't?" He looked at me and smiled softly. I was thinking the same thing. But it's a big step. I know. But look at him. He won't survive in that system. We talked it over with Maddie and Ethan, who was 4 now, old enough to understand. Maddie agreed immediately. Of course he should stay with us. I always wanted another brother. Ethan nodded solemnly. I'll be the big brother. The adoption process was long and complicated, but Elena, our faithful lawyer and friend, helped once again. 6 months later, Sam became Samuel Andrew Wilson, our son. The beginning was hard. He woke up from nightmares, hid food under his pillow, jumped at loud noises. But love, patience, and time worked their quiet magic. Within a year, he was a different child, cheerful, open, devoted to his big sister and little brother. Mama, he said one day, it took him 8 months to start calling me that. Why did you take me? I hugged him. Because you were ours. You just came from a different place, a little later than the others. Matthew and Olivia supported us completely. They even became Sam's godparents. The more kids, the better, Matthew said. They teach us how to be human. At my medical school graduation, everyone was there. I stood on stage, holding my diploma with honors, and saw them in the audience, Andrew with Ethan in his lap, Maddie and Sam beside him, my mom, Matthew and Olivia with baby Lydia, Andrew's parents, our friends. And I thought, this is happiness. Not money, not victory, just this moment, all of them here, sharing my joy. After the ceremony, we had a picnic in the park. The kids ran around, the adults talked and grilled. At one point, I stepped aside, sat on a bench, and watched the scene unfold before me. What are you thinking about? Matthew sat down beside me. Oh, just life, I said. Remember how it all began? He gave a half smile. How could I forget? You'll leave here with nothing. Remember that? I do. And you know what? Your mother was right. What do you mean? I really did leave with nothing, no money, no illusions, no faith in people. But that's exactly what made me rich. Truly rich. He nodded slowly. I get that. I became poor too, when my mom cut me off. And that's when I got richer inside. Funny how that works, huh? Life's full of paradoxes, I said. To gain something, you have to lose something. To grow strong, you have to break first. To learn how to love, you have to survive betrayal. Philosopher, Matthew chuckled. Maddie takes after you. Or maybe I take after her. She's always been wise beyond her years. Maddie was outside teaching Sam how to ride a bike, the same pink bike I'd bought years ago with the first alimony payment. Now my adopted son was learning on it. Full circle. Iris, Matthew said suddenly, his tone serious. Thank you. For everything. For not breaking back then. For keeping Maddie safe. For letting me stay her dad. For showing me the man I should have been. There's nothing to thank me for, I said quietly. We all learned. From our mistakes, from each other's. The important thing is, we learned. That evening, after the kids were asleep, Andrew and I stepped out onto the balcony. The city glowed beneath us, music played somewhere in the distance, life pulsed on. Are you happy? He asked, wrapping his arm around me. Yes, I said without hesitation. Completely, absolutely happy. And you? Me? I never thought this was possible. A wife, 3 kids, a mother-in-law who bakes the best pies in the world, your ex-husband who's actually my friend. It's surreal. It's life, I corrected him. Real, messy, beautiful life. It's been 5 years since that unforgettable trial, 5 years that changed everything. Maddie is 12 now, a teenager, yet still as wise as ever. Sam is 9, he barely remembers life before us. Ethan is 7, just started first grade, already giving teachers headaches. Matthew and Olivia had a son, little Max. I'm a pediatrician now, working in the same hospital where I once was a nurse. Andrew is chief anesthesiologist. Matthew built a thriving construction company, honest this time, without his mother's shady deals. Olivia opened a legal center for women in difficult situations, helping those who were once like me. Every year, on the anniversary of Patricia's death, we visit her grave. All of us, me, Matthew, Maddie, the younger kids. We bring flowers, stand in silence. Everyone lost in their own thoughts. You know, Maddie said once, standing by the grave, I think she's at peace now. She can see that we're all happy, that her money did good things, that we remember her, not with anger, but as a lesson. Coming from a 15-year-old, that sounded so grown up. But Maddie had earned the right to adult thoughts. She'd grown up early, no matter how hard we tried to protect her childhood. Then Maddie did something that shocked everyone. She wrote a book. Yes, at 15, she wrote a novella about a girl who saves her mother from an evil grandmother. It's not about us, she said, handing me the manuscript. It's inspired by us. But it's a fairy tale for kids who have to be brave. It was published, ironically, using her grandmother Patricia's inheritance. A small print run, but it sold out instantly. Then came reprints, translations, a film adaptation. Maddie became famous, but she stayed the same, calm, kind, wise. What do you think? She asked me recently. Would Grandma Patricia be proud of me? I thought for a moment and answered honestly. I don't know. The Patricia we knew in the beginning? No. But the one she became at the end? Maybe. Yesterday was Maddie's graduation. Yes, graduation already. Time flies. She stood on stage, receiving her gold medal, and I cried. Cried from pride, from joy, from memories. After the ceremony, she came up to me. Mom, I've made a decision. I'm going to study law, like Aunt Elena and Aunt Olivia. I want to help kids step between their parents. Protect their rights. I hugged her tightly. You'll be an amazing lawyer. She looked at me, her eyes full of that same calm wisdom she'd had since she was 7. Mom, do you ever regret it? Everything we went through? All the pain, all those battles?